Testing, testing.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Cool. Let's go.
Whew, what a week it's been.
Truly. I'm Alex.
And I'm Emily, and welcome to What a Week.
You want it, we got it. We're bringing you news by zillennials for zillennials.
Let's dive right in.
Yes. Okay. Well, obviously our last episode was about the insurrection at the Capitol in DC. And this week we kind of wanted to talk about, because we touched a little bit last week about how Trump got banned off of Twitter, off of Facebook, off of Instagram, off of Snapchat,
Everything.
off of literally everything. And I mean, I think that I'm seeing a lot of conversation, like, is this too far? Is this okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he's literally banned on everything, like literally Pinterest, like saved face, like everyone. And I know right now he's still on YouTube. That's the one thing that people are like, okay, he's still getting a platform on YouTube. But as far as the other platforms, I mean, what do you think about all this?
I think it's a fine line, right? Because I think for so long, the social networks have been under fire, specifically Facebook and Twitter, about misinformation, about not, regulating Trump enough, because this isn't the first time he's done crazy shit, right? But I don't know. It's really difficult because I understand why they're banning him. Unfortunately, people care about what he has to say. So like, he should have a platform to say it. However, I feel like at this moment, I don't know Trump, but I feel like his mental health is not good. I feel like he's not making very smart or like logical decisions at all. And so for the moment, I do think he needs to be banned from all these places, because just from like a few tweets that he did over several weeks, he created all this mayhem. And if you continue to give him access to these platforms, he's only going to continue to spark these terrible riots, or create encourage these people to rise up and do horrible things, especially with the inauguration coming up so close. And I also feel like because Twitter and like Instagram and Facebook pulled the plug, every other social network was like, well, now we kind of have to pull the plug too, because if not, we're going to look like we support Trump, which is why Pinterest, like, why would he go on Pinterest? Like, which is, I think,
Totally.
why they like banned him too.
And you know what? What's very frustrating is just the fact that like so what happened at the Capitol and kind of all the talk that, I mean, people are talking about on Parler, that app that it's some sort of forum. I haven't looked at it. I don't know anything about it, but kind of white supremacists and Nazis and these people go on that site and kind of, they plan the insurrection together on that app. And that app is now taken down from Google and taken down from like to be able to download. But they kind of go on this app and plan it. And this is kind of a cultivation of all the rhetoric Trump has used the past 4 years. And so my thing is kind of like, doesn't it like almost feels performative to me? Like, I'm kind of glad he's banned from them. I'm not going to lie, but it's like, what took so long?
Yeah.
I wonder what, and if the argument is, well, he's our president. I mean, he still is right now, unfortunately. So it's like, I don't know why. Like, it's kind of it's frustrating in that aspect, if that makes sense.
Because he's done stupid, crazy stuff before. It's like, obviously this is the first time he totally caused a riot and a ruckus in the Capitol. But I also feel like maybe it's because his presidency's at the end and these social networks don't really have anything else to lose. They're just like, well, what is he going to do? Put these crazy like rules against social networks, or like, is he going to fine us, or is he going to figure out some way to hurt our business? If they would have done this a year ago, but now that he has less than a week to go, people are like, okay, whatever, let's ban him. Like, he did something crazy and he should be banned, and now's our time to do it. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I don't know. It's just like so weird, because I wish I knew their guidelines, because I've seen like, honestly, I've seen so many journalists who are women complain and say, I get all these death threats. And I mean, we see people like AOC and people like Ayanna Pressley getting death threats on social media. And it's like, okay, what are we doing to regulate that? Like, I get we're kind of cutting the head from the snake in a way, but it's like, you encourage this behavior for so long. And then it's also one of those situations. There's a sexologist here in San Diego, and I know she's openly talked about how she's not allowed to at all do any sort of ads on Facebook, because her business is literally like, because it
Yeah.
comes across as sex content, she's not allowed to do stuff. So it's just like, what the heck is up with these? I just said heck, who am I? But anyway, like, what is up with these like platforms? I don't know. Yeah, I know. I'm like, what the heck? What is happening? But it's just like, I don't know. It's weird, the hill they've chosen.
Yeah.
I wish there was more done to everyday people.
Yeah, I agree. But then I also think it's just such a fine line because there's freedom of speech, right? And freedom of expression. And so like you can't really censor the content too much because then you're taking away people's rights. And people get all gung ho about that, with which I understand, totally understand why. But I feel like social media wasn't a thing when they created the United States. Like it wasn't even a thought. So it's just like there isn't really like a set guidelines or set anything that these social networks or social media networks have to kind of abide by. They kind of just make it up as they go, and they kind of have free reins to control whatever content. And sometimes they regulate content that we don't think is fair. Like you can't show a nipple on Instagram, but Trump can go do crazy stuff on there. Like, how is that fair? You know, I don't know. I think there should be more of a line of what there should be more regulation, I think, on these social networks, and more like across the board kind of like rules that they all abide to. And I feel like they should regulate, like, you know, like death threats and stuff. Like certain stuff should be kind of common sense across the board.
Totally. I know. I wonder if it's in our future, because I've heard a lot of people talk about, oh, you're taking away Trump off social media. That's free. That's like a violation of the First Amendment. But it's also like, well, these are private companies. So I wonder if it's in our future that these companies won't be private, because they are really kind of what life is now. Like so many people are on, isn't it like 93% of like the world's population is on Facebook? And that was like a stat from like our class we took for JMS, for our journalism class, like in 2015.
Left my brain.
Yeah. So I'm just like, there has to be way more of the population, of the world population on Facebook as of now. Yeah. So I do wonder if that's in the future. But I mean, I'm personally so done talking about Trump, and I am ready to talk about news that we haven't gotten to discuss yet because of everything that has happened in 2021 so far. And I know you're probably so excited to talk about this.
I'm hyped, and I want to say thank you to Alex's boyfriend Jack for even suggesting this, because we briefly talked about it, I think, on a Q&A. I talked about it on Tuesday on my Q&A, and I was just kind of like gonna let it die down. But as a true Kardashian fan, I cannot let this story die. Kimye, they're allegedly breaking up. They're allegedly getting a divorce. I feel like this came out, I want to say Tuesday or Wednesday last week. So it came out like a day or two before everything happened in the Capitol. So I think it got buried a little bit. I mean, unless you're like an entertainment junkie like we are, I feel like a lot of people didn't put a lot of attention to it, and it deserves its attention because this is big, y'all. So I want to start off by saying Kim and Kanye, neither of them have said they are breaking up or getting a divorce, and none of them have filed for divorce. But last week, news broke across several outlets that trouble was in paradise and that they were heading to Splitsville. All the sleazy tabloids say that, and I just think it's funny. So basically what's happening is Kim's had enough. According to different sources on E! People, Us Weekly, Kim's had enough. 2020 was a really rough year for her marriage with Kanye. He announced his presidential run in 2019, I believe. And, 2020, he started campaigning for it. And during one of his campaign speeches, he said that Kim and him were considering aborting North. And it seemed like when he was saying that, there's Twitter tweets out there with videos that kind of show him having like an episode. And so it was obviously wild to kind of hear about it that way. And he said a lot of stuff on Twitter last year about Kim and her family, about how he would never let North pose on Playboy, and about Chris, and just about Larsa, like about the family and their friends. And I think also like throughout the years, Kim and Kanye have had very different political views. Kim's always supported Kanye, but she has said, he has different views than I do. And I tell him that I don't align with his views sometimes, but at the same time, he's his own person and he's allowed to believe whatever he wants. And I think it's just been so much has been happening lately, and it's just like out of her control that not that I know them, but I'm a Kardashian expert, I'd like to call myself. I just feel like enough's enough for her. According to people, according to E, they're going to couples counseling right now, trying to work it through, but Kim is pretty much set on divorcing Kanye. She hired a divorce attorney who's been on retainer for a couple of months. They've been living separately for several months as well. They spent the holidays together, and they've done a few trips here and there to the Dominican Republic, Wyoming, to kind of like work on their marriage, and it just hasn't worked. And so, I mean, I'm not really surprised.
No, I totally agree. And I mean, kind of bouncing off what you said about how their views don't align. I read this complex article that kind of did the timeline of like when they got together and then when Kanye started really like advocating for Trump. And I think that's really hard to have such different political beliefs than your significant other. One, especially at this time, and two, especially when you're someone who is so involved in advocacy in the way that Kim Kardashian does. Because say what you want about Kim, she's doing great things for prison reform. She wants to become a lawyer. This is the work she wants to do. And to be with someone who has such like different views on that, I'm sure is so difficult. And like, it's interesting because it's so frustrating. And she says something along the lines of like, oh, I don't think he likes Trump for his policies. He just wants to kind of like go against the mainstream and like support him and whatever. But it's just like, clearly you guys, I just hit my mic, I'm just so excited, but clearly you guys just don't align. Like it's kind of, we've been just seeing it so much with even the way that Kanye kind of talks about her publicly when he was kind of running for president, talked about their abortion. I mean, or not abortion, but how they could have had abortion. Clearly they must have different views on abortion, first of all, but second, to just like without her permission kind of share something that's so like it's just like that's gonna hurt North in the future. It's just like I'm sure it's so hard to be with someone that you just don't see eye to eye with.
I don't know. I just think they were growing apart, and it's just hard for me to imagine either of them with someone else because they are Kimye. Like, who is Kanye gonna get with if he ever gets with someone else, or if Kim ever moves on? I just can't picture them like not together because they're just so infamously a couple. So
totally. No, I fully agree with that. I cannot see either of them with anyone else.
And I mean, this story obviously like it's gonna continue to evolve. Also, they just wrapped Keeping Up with the Kardashians a week ago, so I'm curious if like the Kim and Kanye like split is in the last season. I honestly doubt it because I feel like they caught it the last week of filming, and I feel like they wouldn't want to end the show with such a big thing. But they are starting their Hulu show, which I suspect will be a reality show, but they just are getting paid way more than they did at NBC at E. So we'll just see how it unfolds, and we'll see if Kim ends up filing this year for divorce, or if Kanye files, or what happens.
Do you think they're gonna follow through with it?
I think Kim's done. Yeah, they've been living separately for so long. I can't see Kanye changing. I just feel like he's a very stubborn person who isn't going to change his ways, and I just don't see Kim bending. I feel like she's grown so much, and she doesn't like. They don't need each other. They're so freaking rich, and like they're like household names individually. They don't need each other. It's like Beyonce and Jay-Z. They don't need each other. They're just a power couple. So I think it's over.
Totally. Like no, that makes sense. Well, it's been a good run to Kimye.
Longer than 72 days.
Yes, that's a fact. Okay, so 2020 was of course a wild year for news, and 2021 is proving to be the exact same. And when it comes to the new year, I'm usually so focused on goals that come to career and fitness, but never really for my mental health. So today we're joined by Donika and Mayra, marriage and family therapists and the host of the Black Womxn Healing Podcast. I'm excited to have you both on. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
So just to kind of get started, how did the podcast come to be?
Do you want to start?
I'll take it. So basically, it was a Black Womxn Healing Circle that was started on San Diego State University's campus by myself and a professor by the name of Antonisha Alameen Shavers. And so it first started off as Black Womxn Healing Circle. We would meet monthly and talk about different topics. And so that was and it probably is still going on in San Diego, but it started in 2014, I believe. 2015. And so then Mayra, she took it over 1 year. And then Mayra graduated from the master's program at San Diego State in MFT, and so did I. And me and Mayra stayed connected, and she had this idea of like, let's do a podcast so we can make this like international. So it's not just people on the San Diego State campus, like anybody can listen, right, and get the knowledge. And so it was really Mayra's idea, and we wanted to incorporate more like in person, like circles in different cities. But obviously due to COVID, it kind of changed. And so we're still kind of figuring out a way to make it more interactive. So it's not just you all listening to us, but we can also interact with you all. So that's pretty much the background.
That's awesome. I love how you guys want to make it interactive, and like obviously when the situation gets better and we can travel safely, like go to different states. Like, that's so cool, and definitely I think like really unique. So that's awesome. Hopefully you guys can do that soon. But so what does the work of a therapist look like?
I feel like it depends on the therapist that you ask, because if I describe my day and then Donika describes hers, we have two completely different days. So to become a therapist, you need 3,000 hours. And so I am at like 2,100. No, actually I hit 2,200 now. So I have about 800 hours left. So I'm trying to get all my hours from everywhere. So I work for the county of San Diego in the daytime, but at nighttime I work in private practice. And so the difference between that will be, of course, county funded, more paperwork, and private practice is more of, a specific group of people that you decide to work with. So my days are crazy. Sometimes I'm starting at 8 a.m. and ending at like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Some days I am working from 10 to 12. So it all depends on the day. But life after getting your hours and getting licensed looks amazing. So I'm gonna let Donika take that part over and tell us how her day is.
Yeah, so it's most definitely less paperwork. You're not working with the county. And even if you are having like clients that you're getting insurance from, it's, you pick your own schedule. So like right now I work like 3.5 days a week, and it's just solely private practice. I do private pay, and then I accept Medi-Cal insurance right now. So it just looks like seeing clients. It's no like case management, which is like helping people link them to other services, so it is different once you get licensed. You can decide if you want to stay in community mental health. You can become a program manager and be over those programs and help those people, or you can become private practice and do your own thing. So
awesome. And I like to know that I'm not alone when it comes to mental health stuff. So I have to ask, especially in the past year, have you kind of seen a trend with a lot of people experiencing a lot more anxiety and a lot more depression than they normally would?
I would say on my end, I've seen an increase in grief specifically. A lot of people, losing loved ones, but the fact that we lost normal life, whatever normal life is for people, I've seen a lot of grief around that. And in both my private practice work and my community mental health work, I've seen an increase in referrals. So at one point, we were struggling to even keep up with referrals. So we had to start telling people we might not see you until the next 6 weeks, which typically we're seeing people within 5 days of getting a referral. And then with private practice, it was just such a huge increase in like all those referrals where my supervisor had to start hiring on new people. So I feel like, yes, depression and anxiety, but mainly what I'm seeing is a lot of just grief of what normal life was, in addition to the grief of loved ones.
That makes total sense too, because I never thought about it that way. Like, yeah, like everyone's had to adjust, and some more than others. And then you're just like, I'm home alone with my thoughts. Like, I can't go out. Like, I need someone to talk to. Like, my friend's just not going to cut it because they're not professionals. So, like, that makes total sense.
yeah, I would completely agree with Mayra. I think grief is popping up a lot, even past griefs, right? So people who have lost loved ones before COVID, because like you said, you're at home, you get more time to think about it, and it kind of sits in. I would say too, social anxiety, that piece is coming in for a lot of my clients of just not being out. So just being stuck in the house, or even taking like a walk and seeing somebody, our health anxiety, right? Because everybody's so scared of like, you do a little cough and it's like COVID, when it's like, actually, it's just a cough, calm down, y'all. So I would say health anxiety, social anxiety, grief. When it comes to the depressive piece, being stuck in the house, when you isolate yourself, that can really bring out depressive episodes. So It's a lot. It's a lot of different things, even past the ones of the anxiety and the depressive episodes. There's so many other things, but I would say in general that COVID has intensified mental health symptoms and behaviors in general.
I was just going to say, it's so interesting that you both say grief, and especially past grief, because not to get too deep or anything, but I lost my dad in 2013. And besides that year that I lost him, this has been the year that I felt that grief and that kind of losing a loved one so much. And I feel like it's kind of, I couldn't tell if I'm anxious and I'm like, oh gosh, like I don't want to lose another family member to COVID. Or, I mean, that's nice to hear, like other people are kind of feeling that too.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like on top of the pandemic, it's just been such a heavy honestly, heavy year with just everything going on in the political climate, just the past 2 weeks with everything that went on top of the craziness and like stuff that happened last year. Like, what 2 or 3 things can people do just like at home when they turn on the news and they get anxiety from it, or when they've had like a really stressful day? Like, what are some things that you think can help people relax or just feel better and like feel better about their mental health?
I would say first thing first, disconnect. If you are feeling any type of anxiety shows up in different forms, but kind of like this textbook term of like overthinking, sometimes easily irritated, loss of appetite, or just feeling just antsy, right? Disconnect. You don't have to stay there. And if you feel it already, why even wait for it to, whatever happens? So disconnect. You do not have to stay connected to that. A lot of times right now, and I think in one of our episodes, we talk about intentions, and we also talk about community. So right now, those are like really big things. So put some intentions on your day, some productivity of whatever it can be. It could be mindful coloring, it could be journaling. Do something different, right? And then community, reach out to your support, people who your trusted loved ones, right? It doesn't have to be family. It could be, your chosen family or your friends or whoever. It's all type of virtual circles going on, and free groups going on. So like disconnect and find some things that bring you to intentions and community. That's some things I would say.
Definitely. I think I would also add just cleaning up everything in your life, and starting with like social media cleaning up. Like, who am I following? How is this toxic to me? How is this not toxic to me? Is this healthy? Things like that. And then also I found that a lot of people have been cleaning and have found that to be very helpful for them. Just cleaning up their house, because being in a clean space, that plays such a big role in your mood. And then this one's really corny, but I say cleaning yourself as far as taking a hot bath, because warm things are so helpful for people who are experiencing anxiety, people who might feel, stressed, depressed. So having hot tea and taking a hot bath can be very helpful too. But I think the number one thing that's been helpful for clients, and that's been helpful for me too, would be like just cleaning up who I'm following, because you really got to be careful who you're following and also what you're consuming on TV. It's okay to, consume the news, whatever, but you also got to set like a time limit for yourself. And it's also okay to be like, okay, you know what, I'm not going to tune in, and be okay with that, because I've been hearing a lot of people saying they feel bad when they don't watch the news and keep up with what's going on. But if it's affecting your mental health, then you don't have to do that.
Exactly. It's a great point.
In kind of a longer term sense, what strategies or advice would you give to someone looking to improve their health kind of overall in the new year?
Mental wellness in general, I would say that don't put so much pressure on yourself to like meet all of these goals and expectations. So, January we have the New Year's resolutions, and just in general, because, people are saying you have this time, you got time to sit down and create all these goals. I would say you don't have to have like an exact way of getting somewhere. Break it down. And I know me and Mayra, we talked about this too, like doing like monthly goals, right? Versus this whole year goal. So then it's like realistic, it's attainable, right? Those SMART goal type of things. So you're giving yourself a chance to get there. And mental wellness, the smallest things matter. So literally if you say, you know what, every day at nighttime, I want to have a cup of tea. That's a part of your mental wellness. So like starting with that and really feeling proud of yourself and celebrating yourself when you make those very small goals.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I also think that just reflecting and seeing where you are daily just to support yourself, because we don't know how anything's going to be even like tomorrow. So I think just taking those moments for yourself to be reflective, and I also believe in being proactive. So I always tell my clients, if there's something that you struggle with, how can we turn that into something that's positive, make that into an affirmation, and just practice saying that every day. And although in the beginning it seems very corny, when a negative thought comes in, you're automatically going to meet that negative thought with this positive thought because you've been practicing that.
Wow, those are great tips, and I'm going to implement all of them. And the tea one, especially. I'm like, I love me some tea, so I'm going to start making like a calming tea at the end of the day, just like.
I know. I was like gonna sip this, but it is wine, not tea, so I'm not even gonna pretend.
That's your thing too. That's your thing too. That works. Hey.
Well, thank you so much for being on. And where can people find the Black Womxn Healing Podcast?
We are on all platforms. So Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. We're like literally on everything. So check us out there on our social media at BWH_POD. We have our link tree there. We have an event coming up next week. It's in the Los Angeles area, and it's going to be social distance. We're going to have our mask on, but we still want to make sure we focusing on like this overall holistic mental wellness. So like, come join us. Yeah, reach out to us, connect with us.
Yeah. Yes, and I will put all of their information in the description of our YouTube video so you guys can follow them. And maybe if you are in the LA area, even go to their event next week. Thank you so much for joining us. This was amazing. So much. Alex, so how has your week been? Anything new to update me with?
I mean, overall, the week wasn't that great, but one thing that's very exciting is my mom got vaccinated, the COVID vaccine.
That's so cool.
So excited. Guys, I'm so happy. Symptoms? No, not at all. She said she literally felt nothing. So that's really great news. She has to get the second one in like exactly 4 weeks or something. But and I've heard
Moderna.
She got Moderna. And I've heard like Will said his second one is the one that he like started to feel symptoms or like, and the trial says more people get it the second one, but still it was only like 15%. So I'm hoping she won't feel anything. But even if she does, she will. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so happy for her and like for you.
I know.
Like that's kind of like a weight off your shoulders that your mom's gonna have the vaccine.
Yeah, no, fully. How about you? How was your week?
My week was kind of shitty, to be honest. As you guys know from last week, I got a sinus infection. And like being sick right now is just not like ideal because everyone thinks you have COVID, which I understand why they think that, but I just have a sinus infection. And so yesterday I was honestly really sick. I just couldn't stop sneezing. My nose was really congested. And it was frustrating because I just got off antibiotics last week on Sunday. So like I felt really good Monday, Tuesday. And I was like, yay, like they worked. And then Wednesday came, I started feeling kind of bad. And then Thursday came and I felt terrible. And, you know, now it's the end of the week and I'm feeling a lot better. And I've taken a lot more like Medicaid, like just like over the counter stuff to help. But it's just like, I'm going to have this sinus infection for 2 months. It's usually how it goes for me. I usually have to go through various rounds of antibiotics. So if I sound very nasally, it's because I cannot breathe through my nose and I will get better in April.
That is awful. I am like, sorry for that because that's awful.
It sucks.
And especially like being nervous. Yeah, no, you be nervous. Like not even other people think you have COVID. Like you probably thought you had COVID. That's scary.
When I first got my sinus infection, it was like the December 22nd. And I was like, I told Alex, I was like, I'm genuinely scared I have COVID. Like I had all the symptoms. I had sore body aches. I also worked out like a couple of days that week. So I think that's why I was sore. I was so tired. I was having trouble breathing. I was like, oh my God, like I have COVID. I can't breathe through my nose. I'm having trouble breathing. Got a COVID test twice, came back negative, went to the doctor, tested me again, came back negative, did the sinus infection stuff. They're like, it's a sinus infection. I was like, thank God, but like, that's still shitty.
Yeah, no, that's, oh God.
But we have good news. Not everybody had a shitty week like me. So let's read your good news of the week.
Yes.
Alex, why don't you start?
So Ori said, successfully made naan bread. That is awesome. Is it naan? Naan?
I think it's naan.
I don't know bread types except sourdough, so I am sorry. But yay, that's awesome.
Amanda Rivas said she finally finished a house project.
Yay. Asia said, I'm getting pizza tonight. I love that. I want pizza now.
That. Me too.
You know, that sounds really good.
And Kristen Reva said she got to enjoy the beach this week.
Ooh.
That sounds nice.
And then Jack said, I'm feeling more confident in my career.
Yay! I love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for joining and tuning in to us. Hopefully you all learned some really great tips on how to improve your mental health, and you know, you learned something new. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, What a Week with Alex and Emely. My shirt's coming down. Ooh. We come out with new episodes every Monday. And make sure to also follow us along on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Alex, so what is our info?
Yes, on Instagram, we are What a Week Show, and on Twitter and TikTok, we are What a Week Show _.
I'm like helping Alex with her hand motions. Thank you so much.
I don't know where that came from.
We're trying to synchronize.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Have a great week. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.